Hello everyone, Todd Shellnut, CFI Pro Courses, Regulation Wednesday. Whoop whoop. Anyway, so this week, something kind of interesting, I thought. Someone reached out to me again. By the way, it's very difficult for me to kind of choose as to what I'm going to be presenting. So I apologize if your question didn't get chosen for it, but please continue to send me all the questions you possibly can and ideas that you would like for future episodes. Go ahead and take a chance now, if you don't mind, and click on that subscribe button. Make sure you like this video and then click on that little bell for future notifications. On to this episode for this week. I was chatting with someone who was talking with me about the POH for the airplane. Now, here's the background of the story. They are starting training with a new flight school, and they go to do a flight in the airplane. So they get to the school early, and they go out to the airplane and they grab, looking for information on the airplane. And one of the things they're looking for is the POH. This is one of those schools that actually keeps the POH inside of the school, and you have to check out the POH and what we refer to as a can, which has all the paperwork in it, the squawk sheets and the hobs, on and off time, things like that. And so you go to the front counter and you get the books for the airplane, and then you walk out of the airplane. They don't keep the books inside the airplane for obvious reasons. It used to be expensive to replace a POH, but not anymore since everything's digitalized. So they went to get the books, and they noticed that there was something a little bit odd about the POH. One was it looked to be like photocopies of a POH, not the POH that came with the airplane. And so it sparked some questions. They still went flying with the instructor, but afterwards she called me up and said, "Hey Todd, this happened today. Can we talk about this?" And I'm like, "Absolutely, we can definitely talk about this." So eventually what we got around to was that the airplane was not legal when they took off. And I want to explain to you why it was not legal. So first off, we're going to pop on over to the ECFRs, okay? And we're going to take a look at the ECFRs. So let's pop on over there and look at the ECFRs. Okay, so here's where we're going to start this discussion tonight. And as you can see here, we're on 91.9. And 91.9 is Civil Aircraft Flight Manual marking and placard requirements. Now, what we see here in this particular reg is it says that they must have, except as provided in paragraph D, no person may operate a civil aircraft without complying with the operating limitations specified in the approved airplane or rotorcraft flight manual. That says you have to do what the POH says to do, and you can't go outside of that. Let's put that off to another time. We'll do that next week. We'll talk about how you can do certain things that you think you can't do. All right, so markings and placards, or as otherwise prescribed by the certificating authority of the country of registry. And then it says no person may operate a U.S. registered civil aircraft for which an airplane flight manual is required by 21.5, which it is, of this chapter, unless there is available in the aircraft a current approved airplane flight manual or the manual provided in 121.141, which we don't care about that because that is airlines. So we know for a fact that we have to have a current and approved. Now, let's talk about what that means. So I have some windows up here open. Let me actually put them in order. I want to show you a couple of different things here, and I apologize. I just did a search up here. This is mainly what you would probably see is this looks to be like a 172R POH, and it looks like it has some good information in there. There's some performance stuff, It didn't have a cover on it by any means, but here's what I really want to look at. And this is where a lot of people make mistake. Now, this is actually the manual that was in the aircraft that the young lady rented. And so she showed me a picture of it on her phone, and I'm like, well, what you're looking at is a PIM, and that stands for, you can see here it says 172R information manual. So it's called a pilot information manual or an information manual. This is not a POH. It's an information manual. It's used for classroom type purposes or for the pilot to keep at home to do research about the airplane. It very closely mimics a POH, but it's not a POH and it's not an AFM, which is an airplane flight manual. So it's neither one of those. So there's three different type of publications. They look very much alike. The AFM, Airplane Flight Manual, the POH, Pilot Operating Handbook, and the information manual. And on older airplanes, they have what we refer to as just limitations, sometimes also called an owner's manual. So I just want to show you this first. It looks, smells like, tastes like a POH, but it's not. It's called an information manual. This is what was in with that airplane that she took, not a legal copy. Now, I'm going to show you why it was really illegal. First off, let's look at a legit manual here. This is a legit manual. I just searched for it and it came up. Whatever 9936 Fox is, whoever owns that, thank you for allowing me to use this tonight. I don't have to ask permission, by the way. So here we go. We'll look at this Pilot Operating Handbook and FAA approved airplane flight manual. So anything that's produced nowadays is both the manufacturer's POH and the FAA's AFM. And they're the same, except the FAA's approved airplane flight manual has a specific layout. There's an acronym that we can use to learn it, and it's called, a guy's name, Glenn P. WASS, WAHSS. So General Limitations, Emergency Procedures, Normal Operating Procedures, Performance, Weight and Balance, Aircraft Systems, Handling, Safety, and Supplements, any supplements that got added to the airplane. But this is an approved manual. This is what she should have seen. And this is back in the day when they actually signed them coming off the assembly line floor, which is not common nowadays, okay? Nowadays, they just run it right on through, and there you go. It's not really signed by anybody with the FAA, maybe signed by somebody at the manufacturer who's an authorized person of the FAA. And you can see, boom, look at this, was signed off by Cessna as well on that date back in 1997. And here's one of the things that I really want to drive home for you as the reason why that flight was really not legal. The airplane book, let's go back over to the reg. I want to show you this. This one word right here, current, must be current. What do we mean by current and how do we deduce that it was current? So if we look over here, we can see that this POH is for serial numbers 17, that serial number and on. The original issue date was 2nd of December 1996. This is going somewhere, be patient. But look, this is another thing here. We want to pay attention to that part number. That's very important, especially the 172R PHUS. Very, very, very important to understand that. Why is it important? Well, because we need to check that this thing's actually been updated. And if you actually read the POH, which most of you haven't or won't or don't, it actually tells you right up front, congratulations for purchasing the airplane. Thank you very much. Here's all the performance stuff. Here's some more performance stuff. And here is what it covers. And then look at this. Here's that number again. And it talks about the original issue and revisions. So these documents are revised. There's revisions that's published by the manufacturer, and you are required as the pilot in command to ensure that the POH that you have are in the airplane is updated to the most current revision. And if it's not updated to the most current revision, it's not airworthy. Not airworthy. So then you have to ask yourself, okay, Todd, thank you for showing me this, but you're not helping me. I've got to know where to go. So if you just keep reading, it tells you all about the revision and the filing and what you're supposed to do. You basically have to fill out some paperwork in front of the POH, and then you write some stuff in saying that it's been revised. I'll see if I can't find some more of that for you in just a second. And it goes on to talk about the revisions and how important it is and how to identify it and the warnings, cautions, and notes that are identified. And here are the log of the effective pages, and this is what a revision starts to look like in a POH. And it tells the date that it was revised and the revision of the page that was affected. And this is revision level 2. Now, revision level 2 is what we're looking at right now. So that 172R PHUS 02 is telling me that it's not the original issue, which is 1, but it's the revision 2 level. Okay, that's what came out with this. And there's all the logs changes, and we keep going on and on and on. And now we're at that same page. But you were missing all that other stuff, which is most important. Very important. So now it just kind of reads like the PIM a little bit, all the way until we get to the very end of it, which we have now the supplement. So if anything that's been added to the airplane, you get a new avionics stack, you get a new something put in the airplane, there's always something that's going to modify that operating handbook, and it's by way of a supplement. And that goes in the very back of the POH and can actually affect the way that normal operating procedures are conducted and emergency operating procedures are conducted. So you want to make sure you do that because it can actually change checklist in the table. All right, let's go back over here to this and let's talk about this revision. And let's talk about how to find the revision. Now, tonight I just used the Cessna one. So let's talk about what I would do. Well, I just did a research for the Cessna thing. Let's see here what I did a research for. Yeah, and I just did a research. Oh, here it is. I found this publication status report by Cessna. And I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And here is the report that is put out by Cessna. And you can see that it was status as of the September the 22nd, 2020 at 19:03 Central Daylight Time. And I am looking for something very particular here. I see there's a lot of 172Rs, but this one says 172R 180 US. Well, that's not what I want. I'm going to go ahead and find what I want. I'm going to do a Control F here, and I'm going to put C172R PHUS, and let me see what I did wrong there. Duh. I need to go over there and see exactly what I did. So it's 172, not the C. See, even the pros can make mistakes. All right, PHUS. We have some here. 33 results. I see that there's some here, there, applicable to this. I don't know what that is there, but I'm looking for something, these numbers over here in the left column. So let's scroll down and, oh, look at that. Look at that. Will you look at that? Just look at that. Here's all the revisions. This is where you can ensure that your pilot operating handbook has all the correct supplements and has all the correct revisions. And we can see here now that the highest revision in this is up to level 9. So if I don't have a revision 9 that came out in, well, see, that came out in 2004. Oh, there's also some ones down here. Temporary revision, they came out in 2014. All right, so those temporary revisions are valid only for a specific time. Temporary, okay? So I don't know what they are. I have to go look them up. I don't know what they are, but I can see here that the last major revision came out in 2004. So the bottom line is, you cannot use a pilot information manual to substitute a pilot operating handbook. And the pilot operating handbook must also be current by way of revision and supplement. And if it's not, well, the airplane's not legal. So please make sure that you do concur with the Code of Federal Regulations 14 CFR Part 91.9, Part 91, Section 9, and make sure that it is current and that it is approved. Thank you very much for joining me tonight again on Regulations Wednesday. A little bit long on this one, but I think it's enjoyable. I look forward to seeing you next week as well. I'll be out in Texas again doing a little bit of work. I always like to travel, I always like to fly, and I always like to be with you every Wednesday. I'm Todd Shunnett with CFI Pro Courses. Bye-bye.